This is a Silmarillion PODFIC of The Fic Hanging by a Thread by a Solitary Bird. This fic is rated T. Fingon is going to find Maedhros and bring him back, even if that means singing in the mountains like a madman and cutting his flesh to ribbons on the sharp rocks. Wind rips around the mountain so harshly that it screams in Fingon's ears. It's so loud that for days after this he'll still have ringing in his ears. With every step he curses his decision to not bring rope, something to anchor himself in the cruel, jagged obsidian, shattered and sharp beneath his feet. His hands are bleeding where he slipped and tried to right himself, sharp-edged obsidian slicing into his flesh. Maedhros is here somewhere. He has to be. Fingon has searched everywhere for him, determined not to abandon him. Not now. Not even after the evil that's been done. The wind gets worse the higher he climbs, and Fingon is ending up having to crawl up the mountain, lowering himself as close to the rock face as possible to not be blown straight off of it. He keeps singing, though, keeps calling out to Maedhros, and sometimes he thinks he can hear him on the wind, responding before the sound is blown away. Time after time he stops singing out into the mountains, listens for anything that could possibly be a response, reorienting himself to it. It takes endless hours to even think for certain that he'd actually heard Maedhros, and even longer to actually find him. There are times when their call and response echoes in the mountains, times when Maedhros's voice goes quiet, seemingly tired and or maybe sleeping, hopefully sleeping. Every time his voice returns to their duet, Fingon's song is lifted in joy and hope. Eventually he stumbles upon the sad sight of his cousin. He's so thin that Fingon can't help the tears that fall from his eyes as he struggles his way up the almost sheer cliff face. It's a miracle that Maedhros is alive at all. Each breath seems to suck at his energy levels, a great production of heaving muscle. The mountain face grows increasingly treacherous the closer that Fingon gets to him, almost as if the very rock itself is determined to keep them parted. It's only when Fingon's fingers ghost against the chilly flesh of Maedhros's toes that this finally feels real. His fingers are sweaty and slip over Maedhros's skin until Fingon manages to scramble just a little higher up and can close them around the bruised flesh of his cousin's ankle. Maedhros jerks away from his touch, initially, but is soothed by the song that swells once more from Fingon's lips. He scrambles to close the distance between them, keeping a hand on Maedhros the entire time so he knows that Fingon is there, that he isn't some figment of his own imagination, that someone has come to save him at last. The rocks here are particularly jagged, and they tear at Fingon's flesh and the fabric of his cloak as it's whipped by the wind. He pitches himself forward inch by inch over it, determined to be able to look his dear cousin in the eyes, to let him know that he will soon be freed from his torment. When at last they are eye to eye, Maedhros's are glassy and half open. It's hard to tell whether he's sleeping, awake, or some fevered mixture of the two. Fingon's own are wet, considerably more so, as he notices that he must climb even higher to release the manacle which is firmly clasped around the thin arm Maedhros is being suspended from. The pain of this extended suspension must border on unbelievable. "I'm here, Russell," he all but shouts into Maedhros's ear over the whistling of the wind. "I'm here. I'm going to save you." A sigh parts the other's lips. "Leave me, Finn. Let me die. I can't do this any more." Fingon's heart clenches. Of them all, Maedhros had always been the most full of life. He dares not think of what tortures the enemy had subjected him to in order to bring him this low. "Don't worry, I got you," Fingon said, as he attempted to pick the lock on the manacle. "I won't leave you behind, Russo. You're coming home with me." The end. Thank you for listening.